Hey guys, it's Audrey coming at you from week 17 of quarantine. So I think it's fair to say that I've had a lot of time to think over the past few months. And somehow that has led me here to posting videos on YouTube. December 2019 honestly feels like 3 lifetimes ago, and looking back on my December 2019 self, I almost laugh at the plans and the goals that I had for myself and how everyone was like,
oh yeah, 2020 is gonna be my year, new decade, new me.
I think it's safe to say that none of us could have anticipated the sharp turn that 2020 took. And even though things are starting to open up again, things will never go back to the way they used to be. And in some ways, this is a really good thing. It means that we've realized certain things about life that we hadn't realized before, or maybe we've picked up some healthy new habits or ways of thinking that make our lives better, no matter what the state of the world might be. And as things start to open up more and more, it would be a huge shame if we just rushed back into how we used to do things, back into our old ways that weren't even working for us, and didn't bring in all these new realizations and lessons that we've had over the past few months into the new world. So today I wanted to share with you some of the things that I have learned in these unprecedented times. But before we get into that, I do want to acknowledge that the only reason why I've been granted this time where I can even organize all these jumbled thoughts I've been having into these lessons is because I have the privilege of having a space where I can safely socially distance, and my family and I are in good health, and I haven't had to work in conditions lately that might put me in danger. So my heart goes out to all the men and women that are still working to keep our society afloat. Like, you guys are just the real MVP. We only really appreciate something after it's gone. This lesson is somewhat inspired by a conversation I was having with my Uber driver from a couple days ago. We were just talking about everything that we were taking for granted before quarantine. So, hey Syed, if you're watching, thanks for the content inspo. I think one of the hardest things we had to deal with at the beginning of all this was the fact that things that seemed so commonplace to us were pretty much taken away from us overnight. And suddenly we couldn't see our friends and family whenever we wanted to anymore. We couldn't go to the gym, go to our workplaces, meet up with people in restaurants and bars, and the list goes on. But I think in living without these things for the past few months, it's made me realize just how naive I had been to think that these things were permanent and that these freedoms would always be available to me no matter what. And now that they aren't, I'm realizing just how much of a privileged brat I was for taking all of these freedoms for granted. And now it's clearer to me that nothing is guaranteed to be permanent. And once the wave does start to settle and parts of our pre-COVID lives do start to come back, I know I will think twice before I take certain things for granted. And I know I'm gonna put more focus and energy into appreciating little things like being able to breathe fully from the air without a mask on. There's no such thing as the perfect time. I've heard a lot of people say things along the lines of how quarantine has put their life on hold and they were so excited to start pursuing something, whether that be a big career move or traveling the world or making new friends. And I also noticed how in pre-COVID times, people would often say things like, oh, if only I had more time or more income, then I could go back to school, start my business, travel the world, move to a new place or city. And I've definitely fallen into this line of thinking too. But if I've realized anything during this time, it's that our futures and the security of our futures is not guaranteed, and things could change at a moment's notice, and there might be no way we could have seen it coming. And I know this can be a scary thought to have, but there is a really positive side to thinking this way, because it's so powerful in helping us to overcome procrastination and just do the damn thing. There really is no time where all of your ducks will be lined up in a row perfectly for you to finally start something or to take action. What matters more is that you work with what you do have now, because the best time to start anything is yesterday, and the next best time is now. Honestly, this whole point can just be summed up with YOLO. Relationships are the single most important thing in life. Now, you would think as an introvert, I would be having a ball during quarantine. Like, being told not to leave my apartment and minimize my social encounters for weeks sounds like a dream come true. But honestly, the hardest part for me during quarantine has been not seeing my friends and family regularly, and even being able to interact with strangers in a normal way. And in having this forced distance with the people that I care about the most, I've realized that although I do cherish my alone time, I cherish the time that I spend with them way more. And it has been the days where I've gone for socially distanced walks with friends or video called with some friends that have been the best and the most memorable days throughout this period. And more than anything, I can't wait until I can give them all hugs again and hang out with them under normal circumstances, whatever normal might look like down the line. Any anxiety you're feeling right now might not be entirely your own. I think it's safe to say that we have been collectively traumatized by this pandemic in some way or another. And it has been an interesting minute where every single person in the world was feeling some variation of the same type of anxiety at the same time. And I've noticed that whenever I go out in public and I'm surrounded by other people, I am much more anxious than I normally am. And I also know that I am quite susceptible to other people's energies, so I am able to easily pick up on how other people are feeling and feel their feelings as my own. So knowing that I have this quirk, I'm wondering if the anxiety I feel when I'm out in public is entirely my own, or if it's partially the anxiety of the people around me. And I know this might sound hokey to some of you, but you empaths out there, I think you know what I'm talking about. And now I do think it's important to have some level of sensitivity to other people's feelings so that you can, have basic human empathy and be a good person to other people. But for my empaths, it can get quite overwhelming when every time you leave your house, you feel like you're just being bombarded and you can't turn it off. So it became clear to me that I needed to do something about this. So I picked up the Empath Survival Guide by Judith Orloff, and she lays out some really great strategies in here to help empaths protect their energy and separate their feelings from other people's. And these strategies have been a game changer for me throughout these few months. So if you find that taking on other people's feelings is something that you struggle with, not just during a pandemic, but even in normal times, then I would highly recommend this book to you. Life gets better when we do less. I think quarantine has forced a lot of us to become minimalists in some way or another. And although I can't say that my lifestyle aligns perfectly with minimalism, I do believe that minimalism doesn't just have to apply to our possessions. It can apply to our time and our relationships too. And now that the way that I've been spending my time and the people that I've been spending that time with has changed so much in the past few months, I'm realizing that I have a lot more control over my time and my company that I thought I did. And this has given me the opportunity to be much more intentional with the ways that I spend my time. And I found that more and more, I've been choosing to spend that time in ways and with people that I know will add value to my life. And I've noticed how much happier I've been and how much clearer my mind has felt and how much energy I've had that I don't think I've ever had before. And it just feels right. So yeah, life is too short to be doing things you don't like with people whose company you don't particularly care for. So those are some of the things that I have learned during quarantine. As always, I would love to hear what you have realized over the past few months. So definitely let me know in the comments, and I will see you all next Sunday. Until then, stay healthy and stay safe. Bye.
It's not for me to say you love. It's not for me to say you